Hey guys, welcome to today's video. So a while back, a couple of weeks ago, I made this 18th century inspired bum pad to go under my 18th century inspired dress. And when I made this, I realized that this would be absolutely perfect for now, for our 2020-ish fashion that helps to create that luscious full silhouette that is so sought after nowadays in a way that is very easy to achieve, non-invasive, doesn't require any surgery, and can be, put on or taken off at will. Essentially, I want to make a modern bum pad to be worn under modern clothing. When I say modern clothing, you should probably take that with a grain of salt because the way I dress isn't super modern, but I want to be able to wear this under my clothing. So, kind of like vintage style dresses and things like that. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to try and tweak the bum pad so that it works under modern clothing and isn't super obvious. First off, I think we need to alter the shape because this is, first of all, too large to work under modern clothing, but also I don't think this shape looks very natural. And the thing with modern clothing is that it is much more form-fitting than historical clothing or many of the historical clothing pieces. And it's not as forgiving to lumpy and bumpy things like this. So it needs to be a little bit more sleek. And I think we need to make it a bit more butt-shaped. And then the second thing is the way it ties to your body. This ties into a bow, which is quite bulky. Especially when it's in the front, which is not a place where you would expect a lot of bulk. So I think we need to tie it in a different way, like an elastic band might work to hold this well in a more inconspicuous way. But yeah, and then I'll have to figure out whether to do ruffles or not to ruffles, like which looks better, because I do think these are meant to kind of smooth the transition between bum pad and no bum pad, but we'll get to all of that later. First, I think I need to draft a pattern that is going to be the right size. So let's start there. All right, I found this bit of scrap fabric and I think this should be big enough. I tried to kind of fit it to myself and I think this is plenty. We can't have it being too big. So I think I'm going to just draft a general rounded shape onto this. I'm gonna fold it in half so that I know how much fabric I'm working with. So how about I do that much and we'll work up to here. Let's start with just a big round shape and I can always make it smaller if it's too much. I'm gonna cut it out and try it on for size. I actually think this could work. I think this could work and I'm planning on doing a seam down the center back to help with the butt shape, and also this one, the 18th century one, has seams as well. I think it helps with the distribution of the filling. The shape is actually all right. I think I'm gonna just stick with this. So the next question is to ruffle or not to ruffle. I think a ruffle would maybe be a bit much, but I might do just a single kind of strip of fabric so that you do get this kind of guide, I guess, almost for the fabric to kind of drape along so that it's not like this stark contrast between the pad and then the rest of the body. Or does the ruffle not actually have that purpose? That's possible as well, because I kind of just figured that it does that, but maybe it doesn't actually do that and it's just for fun. This is the 18th century after all. I think I'm just gonna try to do it without the ruffle, and if it doesn't work, I can always go back and add a ruffle later. I'm just gonna go ahead, iron this, sew it together, maybe just baste it so we get a bit of an idea, and yeah, go from there. All right, while the camera battery was charging, I did a couple of things. First of all, I decided to finally play around with the decorative embroidery stitches on my sewing machine. So we now have some lovely embroidery along the edge of my bum pad. Isn't it so cute? It's so cute. I love it. Then I also attached the two halves together, as you can see along the edge. And I have in fact already inserted my elastic. So I measured out the width of the bum pad compared to, you know, my body, and I measured out how much elastic I would need to breach the rest of the gap, which wasn't a lot actually. And I need this to be quite tight when it's on, so it's just a little bit of elastic. And I am now going to sew that directly into the bum pad while I'm sewing along the outside. So I have it attached to one of the ends here, and then I'm gonna sew all along the edge. And when I make my way to the other edge here, I'm gonna take this elastic, grab it, and insert it here, and then sew over it. So then I get a shape like this, and hopefully that works. And if not, then I'll find soon enough. But it should work. I just realized a mistake I made. I should have made the top more moon-shaped, waist-shaped, obviously, but I think that should be a fairly easy fix, so how about that? Let's give it a try. Gonna do even less. As always, you can always cut more. I tried it on for size, and I think that waist mistake is what killed this project, because now the bum pad is too short, and it does create a nice lift, but then it falls flat much too soon. I just need more butt coverage. Other than that, I do kind of like where this is going. I think maybe the hips could be a bit smaller, but I need more surface in the back. So I think I'm gonna have to start over with a new pattern, new fabric. Let's keep going. I made a new one really quickly last night. I was losing light, but it's essentially the same design, but with a waist shape this time. I can't believe I made that mistake. Very rookie thing to do, but there we go. I made a new one. So I have a seam running down the center. It's a bit longer down the back, and it is padded just very lightly with a fairly thin layer of padding. The only thing is I'm really sad it's not as pretty as this one. I love the embroidery, love the fabric on this one as well, but I only had this little scrap of it left, so I had to use my muslin, but it's an undergarment anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So now that it is more or less finished, let's try it on. First of all, I'm gonna just try it with this dress, I think, the one that I'm currently wearing. Not bad, I say, not bad at all. I think it's maybe a little big still, but I feel like it gives a very nice, almost petticoat-like effect without having to actually wear a petticoat. Do you think that even with the little bit of padding that I used, it's still a fairly extreme look? I do think this works a lot better under heavier dresses than it does under something light and airy and summery, because we need a little bit of weight to kind of smooth out the lumps and bumps of the pad and to disguise, you know, where it ends and everything. So let me actually try this on with a couple different outfits and show you what it looks like in various different settings.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. Sleep, hear the crickets, see the moon. Side by side and through. No limit to what we can do. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life.
Alright, so obviously it works better in some outfits and some settings than others, but I have to say I'm actually surprised. I was expecting it to look much worse in the tight-fitting garments than it ended up doing, and I think if you were to spend a little bit more time on the distribution of the filling, then you could actually get a pretty good result. Yeah, I personally don't plan to use it for that purpose. I might use it under dresses every now and then as a kind of alternative to a petticoat, because I do think this actually looks quite nice for that. And I did just want to say that if this is something that you are seriously interested in, to have a kind of modern bum pad to wear in daily life, there are actually shapewear models available that do exactly this. Modern bum pads, shapewear that have like butt pads. They have them with hip pads as well, and they are fairly affordable as well. So if this is something that you are seriously looking into wanting to wear in daily life, then those are definitely options that are maybe a little bit more inconspicuous and more wearable in kind of like a daily casual setting. So I did just want to point that out. But as for the experiment, I thought this was really fun. I'm very happily surprised with the results that I've gotten, and I might actually go back and embroider around the edge because I love that embroidery. So I really hope you enjoyed this, guys. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for lots more sewing, fashion, beauty and lifestyle content. If you would like to support me through Patreon or my merch store, there are links in the description box below. Thank you so much for your support. There is another video here that I think you might also enjoy. You can go watch next. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!